the 23rd century, mankind finally dared leave the confines of Earth. But the last of reunification was behind them.
Okay, just trying to get the last of this set up. It seems to be really laggy at the moment, so not sure why. Really? Interesting. I'm wondering if maybe they changed something. Or at least I'm seeing something different than what I'm used to. I'm not sure if that's a problem or something else. Because I have 3 FPS. When I'm used to 60. At least. Oh, yeah, well. I'm just trying to see what it could be that's causing it before I really, like, push it live. I mean, it's not using more resources than I expect from Worlds Adrift. Why is my air... Oh, my air quality is at shit right now. Why? Okay, well, now I've got 14 frames. That's a little bit better. This is going to be horrible if I have to play at this level. It could be. It's slowly getting back up. My base is not exactly small, and I'm wondering if maybe that's partially the reason. And when I came in, all my life support was off. So yeah, it needed to be rebooted. Alright, well, this looks a lot stabler, so we're just going to go right into the game screen. So this is your standard outpost. This is where my character lives normally. I have an alt account that lives in here. It's why I have multiple ships. Multiple ships are kind of cool. More on that later. I'm just trying to check and make sure nothing is missing. Alright, that's all good. Those are fine. I'll probably actually use my Proteus suit. I have not actually used those yet. I think it's Proteus. I could be wrong on the pronunciation. Oh, that's nothing. So we just went from the outpost into a CM. So I've got the CM module in the center here. And if I can remember which way I'm going, Dock A. Okay. If I keep going this way, I go into the PS, which is the big power generator. And it's got its nice little fusion cells running. Yes, that is the amount of power that I am pushing. 18,000 power is what is being used. Or what is being generated. I'm only using like 200. I have no clue what, Yeah, exactly. It's like I have no clue where the power is going to be needed. But I've got 3 ships. I've got all the reactors full of deuterium. And then I have the PS. And what is it? Like 7 solar cells running? And this is my second. Why are these green? These need to be locked. This is my second outpost. I have it kind of as a backup. For whatever reason, I've had the other one. Occasionally, the cargo interaction panel will not work, so I can come over here and I have a second one. Again, just making sure everything looks good. Where's my... Yeah, okay, quality's up. And that's locked. Good. My base should not be found. It will be findable as soon as I do a certain couple things, because you'll be able to copy down numbers and get the orbit and then search for it. But in general, it's not that easy to find. And then through here are two of the multiple cargo bays that I want to have. And if you look down in the right lower hand corner, you're going to see all my, key movements. So right now it's not that important, but when we get into docking and you're trying to figure out what I'm doing, the only thing that you're not going to be able to see is my mouse movement. And what took me so long to set up was trying to find, I had one that did the mouse really, really well, but I can't find it anymore. So I went with this one, which the keyboard is a really nice setup, but its mouse is horrible. It doesn't give you any of the translational motion that you see me like up and down and left and right. Right now, just going along. What the hell are you doing over here? It's junk. Okay. So, since I'm in gravity, yeah, it's pretty nice. I've got a few things I want to try and do. I'm thinking I'm going to get rid of the T. Or I've got an idea that I want to try to get rid of the T. At least I want to move the stuff around the command module a little bit, because I'm trying to get all my... Where am I going? Okay, yeah, this way. I'm trying to get my ships to be dockable a little bit easier. Why are you not... Is this pressurized over there? I guess it's pressurized over there. That's odd. I didn't think it was pressurized over there. It shouldn't be. There isn't an airlock over there. And James, this is probably the 4th day, maybe 5th at most. Yeah. Basically, the first day I was doing a crap ton of dying and literally starting over multiple times. I did not have the... I'd burn through fuel, I'd burn through this, I'd burn through that real quick. And instead of like trying to salvage it, I just said fuck it and just restarted. So I'm going to go outside. I'm going to burn all this atmosphere. I hope it doesn't replace it. I'm not going to worry about it. This is one of my storage ships. And there's some lag. And you can see it is kind of a big base, but it's very, very tight. Bright light, bright light. So again, here's another picture of it. We started in that outpost right where the cursor is. Went into the CM right here in the middle. Straight across is the power, one of the ships. I'm gonna get to that in a second. I actually had to get out here because I wanted to look and make sure everything was where I wanted it. Something hadn't despawned wrong where I had to restart. This game has a ton of issues with keeping entities in sync with the clients. So one of the first things that you have to do if you have any type of entities or any type of disconnect with your entities is restart your client. Looks like I'm going to have to move the T, I think. If I move the T, where do I put the stuff that's on the T while I do it? See, this is the part that's going to take long, is I've got to sit here and figure out the whole shuffle that I got to do. Because what I want to essentially do is have the outpost right here where this power is, and the power sticking out. How do I want to deal with that? The power is going to be offset both sides. Looks like I probably should just go grab another T. I think that's going to be the easy solution. Yeah, because trying to do it without a T is gonna have too many parts floating around. And if you're paying attention to how I'm moving, that's one of the things about how to dock. Being able to quickly move around with just tiny taps. Doing long, drawn out key presses will get you moving, but it's also really hard to stop. Because this whole game is based off of Unity engine, which uses real-time physics. Which means any input is going to have to deal with the weight of the object plus its motion. And you have to counteract all that motion for it to stop. And then, if you want it to keep going the direction that it was opposite of what it was going in, then you have to even put more input into to get it to change direction again. This is a very similar flight control to a Star Citizen, but it is completely different than ED, Elite Dangerous, or any of the other space combat games, such as, oh, you've never played that. Okay. Either Star Citizen or ED. Elite. Yeah, okay. Elite is a very similar to a first-person Eve online style, where you have a lot of pre-control in it, meaning there's a lot of things that you can that are automatically done for you, like braking and leveling and things like that. It's a good simulator, but it's not like if you played a flight simulator, like for trying to learn how to fly a Boeing 747. Most space games would be like Counter-Strike when it comes to shooting. The bullet flies in more or less a straight path. Whereas when you're trying to learn to fly a Boeing 747, you've got to use Microsoft Flight Simulator, which is more akin to flying here in Hellion or in Star Citizen, because they're based on physics and you've got to actually run stuff to counteract it. Now, Star Citizen does have a lot of things that will help you counteract your motion built in defaultly. But it does not have, it has the ability to turn them off to make flight very similar to what we have here. And if you go and watch some of the higher end combat players, they're playing without a lot of the assistant programs online, because it makes them slow down. It artificially slows you and artificially dampens your movement. Hopefully we can find a T section real easy over here at Calypso. If you don't know about warp, once this one gets started, I'll go through it a little bit more. This is simple. This is the simple part. This is the really is the simple side. Docking is where it gets to be fun. Well, I can't do it while we're in flight. Okay. I mean, everything that I was doing, just flying around. I mean, is that what your thing is hard? Or what part of it was the part you called hard? Oh, it's not, I wouldn't call it fun, but it's a challenge. It's something that you have to pay a lot of attention to, because it's a game mechanic that in the next version that's coming up on the 19th, I believe it's on the 19th. They haven't released anything to the contrary. Damage from collision will be in, and that will cause all sorts of fun. Golly, I do not like the fact that I don't like the have to sit in the chair to be able to get into these controls. So just doing a simple scan of Calypso. If I remember right, Calypso is my is the industrial. So this is this map. The tiny URLs on the screen, but also have it in the description here in a little bit. Looking for CTM or TM. There's an L and R. Asteroids and IC. ICs are currently bugged in this version. They're containers that you can attach to cargo. Pods to increase their overall storage. I believe there's 6 that can be attached. I can't remember right off the top of my head. Not seeing any here. CLM. The CLM, the CRM, the CSM are quarter modules. So the way the game writes stuff out is C in this particular instance means quarter. S is the shape, which means it's an S that goes from high to low. L, which means it's going to have a straight and then it's going to turn to the left. Or R is going to have a straight and turn to the right. And these are 45s. AC is Altair Corporation, if I remember right. HE1 is for the system. 07 is the born on date, meaning it was put in the game on the 7th day of a month. The I is the letter code for the month, and the 030 or the 034 and the 023 are serialized numbers to have each module have a unique identifier. The derelict is just what it says. It's a place that you can go in and find loot. And I'm not seeing what we need here. So go over to... what is it called? We'll go over to the military section. They sometimes have T's as well. I think that's Ibith. Let me look at the map again. Yeah, Ibith is in the place. And what I'm going to show you, I'll explain what I'm doing in the warp. Right now, I'm just kind of shrinking the size. And where's my ship? Okay, I'm down over there. I'm going to move the entry point, which is this sphere that I'm moving back and forth with cursor. So it's kind of, in the path, and I'm not going to have anything intersect my warp point. I'll hit warp. I'll then set it for warp 3, which is the fastest one. Currently, the way they got warp set up, the less time you are actually in warp, the less fuel you use. So when you're using warp 3 inside the got messed up. When you're actually using warp 3 inside a system, meaning inside the moons, you can cut your fuel consumption way, way down. And it also cuts your time down. So like a 30-minute flight will turn into 10. And for me to get from Calypso, which is the main... Is it Calypso? Yeah, I think it's Calypso. From this system back to the blue planet is about 20 minutes, 25 minutes-ish, which is about 90% of a warp core. If you do it a different way, you'll end up using all 3 warp cores. Okay, speed's too high still, so bump it up. And always go from the too low up to where it just lets you in. And what happens is you're going to get the closest the ship can to your projected coordinates. And I'm just using shift to stop my movement and then hit J right as I'm ready to go. And scan out, see what we got. Heck, why did you do that? Okay, good. So we got CTM right here. Next to PSM, let's see what else we got around here. The reason I'm looking is like this CTM right here is near 2 derelicts, so I can go salvage stuff off those derelicts, whereas this CTM is with a power module and 1 derelict. There won't be much salvage out there. So I'll go to this one. And it looks... the flight path should be okay. Now, you can keep the minute on the time to activation counter till you get a little bit better at getting maneuverability down and getting alignment better. I've gotten to the point where I'm pretty confident on my speed of getting it adjusted, so I drop it down to 30 seconds. But what it does is if you leave the minute in there, it'll allow you to have 60 seconds or more to get this part lined up. You just wait for it, you hit J, and you go off. The advantage of the 30-second is if you're trying to get out of dodge really quick because somebody's chasing you, it allows you to have less chance of somebody finding you. So we're less than a kilometer from pretty much everything I want to look at. Radar shows CTM down and to our right, and I can see the highlight for it there. I approach very fast. I would not recommend to do it this way until you get used to it. When these bars turn red, it basically is telling you you're about to overshoot. So riding the red gets you there as fast as you can. But if you aren't careful, you can crash. And that was a kilometer in under, what, 20 seconds, maybe? All right, so first thing on docking. Make sure that you have whatever you're docking to lined up in your contacts list. Up and down, well, let me get back into it. Up and down will allow you to change your contacts list. We want to have the CTM. The CTM is not going to have the matching for your grapple available as some of the larger modules like the power supply, outpost, command modules, things like that they'll have. It becomes very important. How do you stop fast in a ship? It depends on what you're doing. If you're just doing a transverse, like it's rotating like this, you hold shift and that'll stop you. If you're moving forward, left or right, the strafing, up or down, you have to counter with the proper amount of opposite thrust. This is where docking comes in, and it's the part that I'm going to show you. First, I'm going to get facing the outer hatch that I'm going to use. I think that's either going to be A or B based on using them. But to line up, I'm just going to do a little flip and kind of guess based off of radar. It's probably on the back quarter now because the target went all the way down to the outer edge of radar. That means it's probably behind me. Get out of motion, go into docking, switch over to the rear grapple, go down to CTM. At this point, I don't know if the docking port I have selected is right, but the important part right now is I want to get it in view. And I just did a mouse movement and then hit shift. That just allows me to get the red circle closer to the center line that I need. It's being real squirrely right now. It's because it just doesn't... Whoa, okay, well, I just hit it. Dang it. So now basically I have to wait till it stops tumbling before I can line it up again. And if you look, I've got two red lines around the small center circle. Those are my direction vectors. So for me to reduce the one that's on the left side, I'm using D to make it smaller. I'm using A to make it larger. to move in those directions. And the one on the top, you use control to go down or up to make it longer. So right now I'm just kind of, getting it very close because I hit it because I was too close. And it looks like it's starting to slow down. Yeah, okay, so it stopped, which is good, but it's really facing the wrong way. We're seeing that, whoops, let's go back to there. We're seeing that oh no, we got one. Good, all right, cool. We've got the B port, which is the middle one. And I'm just doing a rotation here with Q, getting kind of lined up. I know based on the hexagon that I'm going to need to swing to my right to get lined up. Just because of the way things in 3D work. I will get a little forward motion to getting into and stop my downward by just getting a little bit of a pip going up as I try and get in closer. Just using A and D, I'm just tapping them to get them to shrink their bars. You can do long keystroke if you're better at it. I don't, because I still find if I do long press, it's not easy. Again, it's a lot of practice. Lots of practice. I've done, let's see, there's what, 12 pieces over on my base. I did at least 6 restarts, which is like, say 4 dockings per restart. Easily 50 dockings, easily. It's not super easy. Again, everything I'm doing is very small, tiny movements. There is a glitch right now in the meters per second next to the inside the hexagon. It's supposed to do lateral and up and down motion translation, but it only captures left and right currently. And that's still off. That's about close. Just backing off a little bit to slow down. Don't want to be going in that super fast. I have docked at as high as 1 meter per second in. It was really ugly, but it worked. And it still looks like, there we go. I have to go in and grab that turret so that I don't get shot. But I can't do that until after I dock. Do not like this lighting condition. And there, it's auto-docked. So that turret won't fire at me currently. If I wait till I undock it and try and get onto the T section, there's a high chance that cannon will fire at me through the skin of that dock. It's a bug, but what you can do is when your ship is locked onto it, it now uses, hold on, let me go back over here. It now uses this security terminal authorized personnel list to know who it's supposed to shoot at through the turret. So just like this turret knows it's not supposed to shoot at me, the turret in the T section is now following the list that I just showed you. So I can go in there and grab it. Why is it pressure hazard? Okay, that's not cool. But any of the name stations, like say there's a fueling station or emergency resupply. Those can have turrets in them. You cannot dock your ship to them and have that command override go to them. It only works on individual pieces like this. I have found that one of the best ways to deal with turrets in those named systems setups is EMP grenade. Do I have one? No, I've just got regular AP grenades. These will work, but the EMP grenades allow you to recover the turret in such a fashion that you can reuse it. An AP grenade destroys the turret, and it can't be reused. At least that's the current mechanic as of, what is this, 0.2.4, I believe. Weird. Why did it lose all of the stuff in its tank? And to stop myself on this wall, I just use shift to use the RCS to grab. Shift is RCS stabilize, grab if you're close enough to a wall, and I think crouch. I could be wrong. It might be control that's crouched. Okay, good. Just turn the jetpack on, open the outer doors. Again, I'm holding RCS so that when it does blow out, I don't get thrown out. And but it shouldn't. And it's not. Okay, good. But going real quick. And just be able to hit F on it, grab it. There it goes. So now you've got it in your hand. You essentially now have a working turret that you can put in your base somewhere. Currently, T modules have a spot for it. The command modules have a spot for it. Power has a spot for 2. And docking, what is it? Cargo bays have spots for 2 as well. The life support module, the one that has the 4 cryopods, to my knowledge, they don't have any in it. The outpost doesn't have any in it. The S and the right and left quarter modules do not have any in it. And of course, the internal cargo, which is the add-on for the cargo bay, which there is no internal to it, has no turret. And where did that turret go? This. I dropped the turret because when you are doing interaction, the only thing that you can do with a object in your hand is interact with button controls. So this, which requires the UI change, will not work. But pressing the button will close. And I like throwing mine right here and just kicking it into the wall. There are a couple places that things will fall through. Back over here, there's a lot of holes apparently in the ship. Let me show you some other holes. This whole section over here, unless it's on the shelves, there are holes over there. This whole wall back here has holes in it. In here, the only thing that can stay in here will be warp cells. Everything else falls through. These windows back here, if you throw something and kind of kick it back this way, they end up falling out. Anything. Part of it's the glitch you can see right there. The hole's not being rendered right, as it's being rendered right here. And anything along the hinge line of this door will fall out as well. Pretty much everything else inside here is fine. And I would, just on general principle, never attempt to store anything on this pad or in this up and down. I have temporarily put like, I've got 2 suits. I'll throw one like right here and then go down and have a second suit on me. Like I'll taking these down, I'll have both of these on and it's fine, but I just wouldn't leave it past, a few moments. Okay, that's all clear. All right, and just go to home station. And the line for your warp changes color before the text on the menu changes. So if you're watching the purple line, as soon as it goes green, it will be a valid flight for you. I thought it was the other way around, but as I was playing with it, I noticed that there was somebody else I was watching a YouTube video on, and I saw him doing what I'm doing. And initially, I didn't use Warp 3 for everything until I started noticing the fuel consumption difference. And then I started using Warp 3 for everything. It might be a little bit more than 1/3 fuel recovery. So maybe it's like 4/6, but it's between 4/6 and 1/3 the fuel consumption that you would normally if you're using like Warp 1. And if I was using Warp 1, I think this is a 6-minute trip between where I am and where my base is. It'll take a moment for it to load everything. And all right, so the longest warp that I'm aware of would be from, I believe it's Nimith, which is the closest planet to the sun, all the way to IA. And I don't think you can do it in one jump, because the current speed doesn't allow you to get there, because you'll use all 3 warp cells getting halfway out. And at warp 3, I want to say it's 5 or 6 hours. The jump between Harath and Bethel, which is where I am, is about anywhere between about 25 to 30 minutes, depending on where you're going in the Harath system or the Bethel system. All right, now. All right. Why is my mouse not being locked? There it goes. And again, I'm just going to burn in really, really quick. And then once I'm close, I'm going to taper way off. And then use match velocity to get the ship in a holding pattern. And I think I can go directly to docking, but I'll have to check. To use match velocity, you have to be under 165 meters and less than 2 meters per second in any direction. So there's the match velocity. Hit M. Now, I'm in theory synchronized with the orbit of the station, but in reality, if I leave it right here, within a day, it's about 5 to 6 kilometers away. Within 2 days, it's about 10 to 15 kilometers away. And by the third day, it's almost unrecoverable because you don't have enough fuel in your jetpack to get there. Excuse me, not fuel, enough air. And I need to turn off FTO. I don't want to leave that running. FTL consumes about 1,000 power of any given moment. So it's best to turn that off unless you know you're going to be using it right away. 8%, I still can use that. And to let you know, yeah, I have a long distance traveling ship. Why don't I turn off power? Well, I'll show you. We'll go downstairs. This ship has been running power all day. I filled it up at I want to say midnight. The deuterium. I think I filled the deuterium midnight Central Standard Time last night. I'm specifically not turning the monitor up to finish the sentence to let you know I used no deuterium in about 12 hours. There is no deuterium use. That's why I don't turn off power. Deuterium burns so slowly. Once you have done a couple mining runs for heavy what's it called? Heavy ice, you don't have to worry about it again. I'm at the point where if I'm getting a new ship, I'll run. I'll make a run to get deuterium to get that ship completely topped off, and then I'll top off all the ships at that point, and then I will wait. And I've lost sync. Why? No, I haven't. No, it's... Why did it lose sync? Oh, because it switched... Yeah, I want to match that one. There we go. It's just another thing when you detach a module. What does cap mean? Capacitor. So the way that I understand the warp system is, there is two things that it needs to initialize a warp. The first one being it needs warp cells. The amount of time you're in warp consumes an amount of percentage of that cell. The second thing it needs is a massive amount of power. If you look at your normal... Thank you. I wasn't trying to do something, gun. Okay, so if you look, my normal output on this ship is 3,632, I'm guessing power per second. I don't know. Whatever it is. I'm consuming 11,000. Why am I consuming 11 right now? Right? Okay. I gotta go figure out why that's it. Yeah, the gun can glitch me out. It really pisses me off. But from my understanding, the amount of power to do a short, like 1 or 2 minute jump needed, you need something like 10 to 20,000 energy. So the way the warp works is you either have to have your fusion reactor on, supplying it continuously through the jump, or your capacitor has to have it banked so that the warp can take it at the beginning of the jump. So having the capacitor on and full with the fusion reactor running means that my capacitor is almost always full. And I got to figure out why the engine is still running. Oh, that's right, because I hit enter instead of tab. That's what I did wrong. Come on. There we go. They remapped the keys. I forgot what it was before, but anytime you hit enter while you're in the cockpit, instead of going into chat, which is why, which most people use enter to get chat open, now turns your engines on. Not exactly what I'd call the smartest decision. I'm going to leave this here. Stay. I want to get the T. Okay, I'm relogging. I may have a ship that's leaking, which is not good. Yeah, I got a ship that's leaking out through the airlock. Yay. And I don't remember the fix for it. Oh, that's the music. I was like, I kept hearing a clanking, and I'm like, what's hitting the ship? I hear it. Where is it? Oh, shit, not that. I want it open. Got to throw that away. And like most MMOs, they always forget to implement a trash can. First thing, if I ever built a game, I would build a trash can. A way to dispose of things that you don't want. Because, you know, everybody in Minecraft does this. Throw it out into the world. Let the world's garbage collection pick it up. The worst thing for a server, a multiplayer server, is to have people throwing stuff out into the world. And I want to have... I don't think it'll really matter, but... Actually, no, it will, because I want to have... let's see, which end is it? Yeah, it could do that. Okay, so I want C to be my docking port. That's fine. The reason I went in there was I want to set this up so that when I connect it to... Wait, where... Is that not the end that has the... When I connect it, I want it to have the B port, the one that's sticking out to one side, facing the correct direction. Alright, now I will do... Very cool swap. If you can do this, your man doesn't suffocate. Do it real quick. Game doesn't even realize it's changed, and you're cool. So I want port C, and I'm looking for my CTM. No, CM, that's the one I want. There we go. Come on, stop spinning. See that inertia? Just horribly inefficient. Swing too quick. And, okay, good. So, rotate this, what, 90 degrees, I think? So where I'm trying to go is more or less the center of my station, which is where those antennas are sticking up. I could, you know, point my mouse down and get myself lined up directly going to the port. But because this is a 3D world where you can hit things, if you go straight in a direct line, I'll clip either the ship or the station or the ship above me while I'm trying to get into position. So I fly out into a neutral place where I can then make my next maneuver to dock. And I think I have an advantage for one reason. I spent a good portion of my adult life in cars and motorcycles, going fast, around tracks trying to hit what's called apexes. And they're basically the perfect point in a turn that gives you the shortest path through the turn. And it's given me a spatial awareness, which for some reason is translating to this game rather well. Why exactly it is, I have no clue. And a large portion of my movement. Hey, I'm saying, you know, this might be one of the reasons it looks simpler. I'm not saying that you can't get to the level that I'm at. It may take you a little longer. I'm just saying don't get discouraged. Especially if you want to play this or other space simulation games that are real physics-based. You may not catch on as quick. Or your first one, this one, it might take you a little bit more to learn. But when you go into your second one, it might be a lot easier. Because you've kind of gotten the visual cues down and everything needed to do it. Now, one thing I did right there, which you may or may not caught on, was I did a rotation while going down. I noticed that I wasn't quite rotated the right way, so I adjusted for it. You probably don't want to do that unless you're a little bit further along, because a rotation while trying to do lateral, horizontal, or forward movement makes it hard to correct for those when you finish the rotation, because your axes are changing. I'm just going to slow down because I don't want to smack into this thing at speed. But this is probably going to be a perfect run right into it. Oh, and that's docked. And let's make sure that everything's facing the right way. It is. Good. So now what I'll do... That guy needs to stay up there for the moment. I don't have anything to dock him onto. I'll go over to this one. Undock him from that airlock so I can then move the power supply to the T-section. And what I'll do is it'll move this guy over to the T-section that's facing out, which should be port A, if I remember. We'll find out. And this one leaked out too. That stinks. The reason I know it leaked out was over in the tank, if it didn't leak out, it would have been full. There'd be a red amount or orange amount, however, what color you want to call it. But there'd be something in the tank side and nothing in the air Q side. And again, it's a known bug that this is happening. Zero Gravity is aware of it, so I'm not worried about putting a ticket in to tell them about it. I did I do the report for the... No, I didn't do that one yet because I hadn't made the video. I need to do a video on the airlock to airlock for station and ships, where I go through like 6 docks within like an hour, trying to get a ship to dock to two ships to dock to 2 separate airlocks and have all 12 docks fail. And the reason I say all 12 is because I'm trying to find out what the combination is that is making our airlock to airlock system not work. I don't know if it's a flag on the ship that's not releasing properly or a flag on the stations that aren't releasing properly. And part of what I'm doing is set up so I can do that that test. So I want to go to CTM. I think that one. Let's go to grapple. No, it's not that CTM. It's the other CTM. There you are. And we need to back out a little bit. That should be good enough. And then I can definitely push in. A little too fast. And I'll do... way too fast. Okay, that works. I'll do the power movement at what I'd consider is kind of a beginning speed. Because I'm doing a lot of these movements really fast. And I know you're going, how the hell can you do that? Well, I've done a few. You'll get there. You will. It's just, you got to be persistent. And I think... oh, this one doesn't have a gun. That's not good. It's on. Those are good. Yeah, it's just a matter of if you want to do... dude. This is another storage ship. So it's not like I use it that often. And it's just burning through nitrogen. Oh my goodness. Actually, my biggest problem at in this current build is keeping nitrogen. Oxygen is not a problem. Hydrogen, deuterium, nitro, all those are really easy to get and maintain. Nitrogen, because of all the leaks, are hard. Oxygen is kind of number two, because your character uses so much of it in its suit. But just with the bugs, the amount of nitrogen, like yesterday, I had to use my alternate account to bring an extra lifeboat out, or not a lifeboat, outpost out, because my station had no nitrogen in it. I couldn't get into any of my ships because it sucked all the nitrogen out through some bug, not sure where. Or it could have been me. I may have left something open. I don't know. But I had zero nitrogen in my entire base. And then shortly after I got that fixed, I got into my cryopod with a full Proteus suit, and I couldn't get out. And I had to restart, or I had to kill my character to get it to respawn so I could get out of the cryopod. So I lost an entire Proteus set, which I only think I have 2 of. I may have parts for a total of 3. Not like 3 complete ones, but like I think I have 1 more suit floating around the station, but I don't have a helmet or a actual extra pack. All right, so let's use one of these cans. These cans, I think, are the best thing next to stim packs. So, just so you know, oh, I gotta go inside, don't I? I gotta lock this out. You can use the RCS on stations to move groups around. You can also use a ship's engines to move a base around. You cannot warp more than one module. I don't know if ICs act as multiple modules on a cargo bay. They're currently glitched, so I can't test that. I'm going to operate under the assumption until I can test it. Yeah, just a few. I'll show you. I'll show you why. I think one of my the other server that I have. I'll show you why I use airlocks a lot, because airlocks prevent. Well, no, I can show it to you on this. Okay, yeah, I know where I can show it to you. There's ventilations in these modules. The ventilation module. Why are you not? Did I not hit the right button? Probably not. The ventilation modules in the game allow a physical space that the player can travel through other than the normal man-size corridors. And it opens security holes in your base, alternate ways to get in. So like every single airlock has the ability to lock the door, which means somebody has to use a one-time use code picker or whatever they're called, hacking tool, I think, to get this lock to come unlocked. But see that vent? I don't remember if this is open to the atmosphere or not, but I can bypass that door. What it also means is these turrets in here won't shoot through this grate for some weird reason. So you can bypass the security of that entire room. And then let's get through here. And I can either go up here and walk through that module, or go through this one, which goes out into space. Airlocks, if I can get out without hurting myself. Oh wait, no, I need to go back in there. Airlocks themselves, right here at this little point right there where that plate is, there's a block on this entire section that you can't get into that airway. Both sides are cut off. So the only way to get into that power supply room is right there. Which means anybody that comes in here has access to all these rooms over there. Which in itself is not that important, because what happens, I'll get that closed. Okay. Yeah, I know I hurt myself. Come on. Let me out. There we go. Finally. Again, glitchy. So basically, you bypass these two guns. But what it doesn't allow you to do is it doesn't allow you to bypass that gun. So you do get past two guns using the airlock or using the ventilation. But there are a lot of things like the outpost module. It'll allow you to bypass and get into a whole lot of other things if you didn't have an airlock there. What I want this one. So that ventilation, you have to kind of pay attention to, because this is a PvP game, and people will use every little exploit, and that's not really an exploit, it's a game design, to get into your base. And I'm just going to vent this one. Actually, I need to look at... Oh, shit. I forgot about those cannons. Crap. Fuck. I just might have screwed myself. I might have just screwed myself. All right. Well, I'll look at it here in a second. Okay, so that's connected there. And that's sealed there. Okay, that's sealed into... so that's a security hazard. All right. So, yeah, moving it will be a good idea. I thought it was... Okay, good. That's good, I think. Where is it? Is it on this one? Oh, no, it's up there. Okay, so now we're back. Okay, good. We need to go to CTM, second CTM. And just work ourselves in and this is about the speed I used initially. I might have moved a little bit quicker occasionally, maybe 2, maybe 3 meters per second. But 0.1 to 0.2 meters per second was about as fast as I was moving when I started trying to get a feel for the game. Things don't happen quickly. You don't have to like compensate very fastly or think about all the different angles. You can kind of isolate movement. It's a nice, gentle, slow motion that if you overshoot, it's really easy to correct. You don't have to, you're not going to be overshooting by meters. You're only going to be overshooting by maybe half a meter or something. But, you know, it's just a nice, slow, move into this particular docking port on the T. And as I'm getting closer, I'm noticing that I'm a little low. The window's a little bit higher than where I would like it to be. So I'm going to start moving up just a tiny bit. And I backed off because it's going to drift up anyway. Just based on what I know is going to happen. And the lineup point on a window is the bottom cutoff triangle. So you've got like where the edges are beveled in between the top, the line that would run across the top section, and the bottom is the horizontal, and then it's dead vertical. It's dead right in the center. So like right here, and then it just needs to be up higher. And I just tapped the station. And I think that was because I didn't have the face rotated the right way. But I gotta wait for the station to settle down to figure out what's going on. Because I'm holding shift right now, and you notice the station is still moving out of position really quickly. Yeah, and it looks like I need to rotate. Not up. Yeah, for me, it took me a little bit to try and figure out where my target was on the window, because I was thinking it was the windows were centered, but it seems to be that they're a little bit high. So that's kind of what I found through trial and error. Something's, I guess it's still moving. Yeah, there it goes. Finally caught up to it. I don't know. Something still doesn't look right. Maybe I need to rotate this way a little bit. Yeah, that was what it was. And that should just, it's a nice slow movement. When it did impact, it was very slow. So there was no wild motion of the modules. So it settled down really quickly. I'll back off a little bit on the speed, get down to 0.2. Okay, it's hitting something. So let me figure out what it's hitting. That's like the power supply is hitting the ship, or there's some other clearance issue somewhere that I'm running into. So what's hitting? Oh yeah, it's the ship hitting this the airlock. So I'll just go detach the ship, connect it, and then I'll probably move the ship right back to the new airlock location. Also, when you start out a campaign or a save or however you want to call it, when you go into get your jetpack, the one that's in the QCM is like get 50% oxygen. If you go to the outpost, there's 2 jetpacks in there. I believe it's the one on the left side that's completely full. So just bring the stuff from the QCM and swap out those jetpacks over there so you have a jetpack of full oxygen. So you can spend a lot more time outside during the first, 20, 30 minutes of the game versus having to use a can or go back inside and fill that jetpack up with oxygen again. There are 2 jetpacks that are partial, and there's one that's full. Oh, I didn't even have to sit down to do that. Well, yeah, it should be fine. I was thinking about matching its velocity, but it doesn't seem to have any motion at the moment, so I'm not worried about it. Oh, my goodness. Look at that. Pressure gone. I mean, literally just went through it. No, use a can. That's low too. So, James, is this making a little bit more sense to you? I hope by now. Okay, good, good. Yeah, I kind of named the video the way I did so that people, once I'm finished streaming and put the VOD files up, people will be able to come back and kind of see what it was like at this point. I don't know if they're going to change any of these mechanics going forward or how the damage is going to affect things when 1.5 or 2.5 comes out later this week. But at least there'll be something set up. Looks like I'd probably go, yep, there we go. Why are you going up so quickly? That was weird. Also, at higher speeds, you use more RCS fuel. It's not necessarily a big deal, but it's something to think about in the first couple modules because you don't have a lot of free resources at that point. Not meaning meaning free, meaning they're not as easily available to somebody like me that has a small fleet of ships and a little backlog of nitro built to where it's relatively easy to refill up all the modules. Something's not. Is it lagging? Okay, yeah, it's lagging. I was about to say, why is it not smooth? Getting less and less frames. That's why it's not smooth. What the heck is going on? It might not dock. Nope, I don't think it's going to dock. Yeah, something is causing server to be unhappy. Take that face a little bit more. That's beautiful. There it goes. Yeah, and they're at least communicating. That's the one thing that is my biggest gripe with Worlds Adrift right now. They are not communicating. Worlds Adrift just flat out, there's no conversation going on. There is more or less the same number of publications from this developer, but what they're coming out and saying is, hey, we're doing this. This is the day it's going to come out. And then they go quiet. And if something changes, they come out and say, hey, this has changed. We have to do X. Whereas Worlds Adrift, the developers came in and it was great. They had a question and answer session for PvP, but it was not a question and answer system. It was a quiz system. It was not a question and answer session. It was a simple, we're going to reiterate what we've already stated and not going to give you new information. They didn't give us a date. Like when I was watching it, the only thing I noticed was the only new information was there was about 2 weeks away for them to have an internal version of the scatter gun. I forget what it's, or maybe it's a turret gun. I forget what it is. It's their anti-personnel cannon. And that's 2 weeks away from that date to them having an internal test version that is probably going to take another month or at least 2 weeks before it would be something that the end user gets to see anything at. And that cannon was talked about almost 2 months ago. Granted, they did fix some duping bugs, and that might have caused things to be delayed, but it shouldn't have. I wouldn't have think it would have taken that long for them to fix that type of an issue. Again, I have no clue how big their studio is. I have done programming in the past. Nothing on the scale of a game. But I was required to keep my superiors in the loop what I was doing, and I made sure that I gave them something on a daily basis so they wouldn't come ask for it. They would be at their desk and they'd get an email either at the beginning of the day or at the end of the day or both, saying X, Y, and Z has been fixed. I still need to do X, Y, and Z, and I expect this date that it'll be complete. Or I found a bug and it's going to make X, Y, and Z take this much longer. And it's simple. Granted, I was the only person involved, but in a community where you've got multiple developers, what you need to do is have one developer or a social media person, which apparently Oily, or whatever his name is, or her. I don't know if that's gender correct. That's the one I want, but it's not highlighted, so there it goes. Now, I don't know if that matters or not, if you can dock to one that's not highlighted. I don't want to find that out at the moment. But you basically have either one developer that kind of has the roadmap, for a lack of a better term, to update an internal social calendar. And I'm not saying every day that they should have a social release, like the end of the day or something, but on a regular basis, like maybe Wednesdays, maybe Fridays. Hey, the end of the week happened. We got this, and this accomplished. It looks like we might be able to push out a patch early next week. Or we found a bug. It's going to push the release of the next patch out about 2 weeks. We'll get more once we've got the bug fixed. And that's what? Either one is maybe 20 words long, and from start to finish, maybe 15 minutes. You know, like log into the account that you should be logged in at work anyway, and post it right as you're winding down for the day, or hell, right as you walk in for the day, or when you go to lunch, or when you come back from lunch. Just the Boss is a good studio. They've done some successful games, but they're not multiplayer games. So they're having a hard transition to the multiplayer environment. Now, where the hell is my other ship? I bet it's that one way over there. Yep, it is. See, that one was synced in orbit to the station, and I've hit the station maybe, let's say 4 times, trying to dock stuff, and it's almost a kilometer out. And that was initially, before it got hit, that was geo-locked, geosynchronous to the station. Now you know why I dock my ships to my station. Airlock to airlock, like I believe I told you in Discord chat yesterday, is very unreliable. But grapple, I have yet to see it fail. I've come in some very weird angles with a grapple, and it works just fine. I just wish they'd apply the same code that they're using on the grapple to the airlocks, and the world would be such a nicer place. And grappling to a station still allows transfer of material via cargo bays currently without any issues. There's a couple suggestions. I went over. There's a couple suggestions that I can't remember if Zero Gravity has said one way or the other, that people are saying that the push and pull from ships and stations should be controlled by the security lists in the CM or the security list in the ship. I would think that would have been coded in when the security lists were put in. But considering the outposts don't have a security list, initially from the get-go, I'm assuming there's an issue with coding that type of security to making it work in both environments. Again, like I said before, I have done a little programming, but nothing on the level of a game. I've done system admin for quite some time with computers, so I understand security, but not as it pertains to in-game mechanics like that, or how it pertains to interaction on this type of level. The first is saying, yeah, I don't know. I'll try and find the answer, but something like this, I'm like, I don't, it's not enough. There's no application for me to currently need that information. And if you see our contacts list, yesterday, I want to say about 8 o'clock Central Standard Time, I disconnected 16J013 outpost from my station, and it has drifted 15 kilometers away. I did nothing to the outpost after disconnecting it, and it has gone that far away. Currently, I don't know if you know this, but until 2.5 comes in, all stations are on a 48-hour cooldown. Yeah, it is actually how space works. All modules are on a 48-hour cooldown, plus 48 hours for each module that's attached to it. So if you have 2 modules, you have 96 hours, so on and so forth as you add extra modules onto it. So with 3 modules, you almost have 6 days worth of out of game time before your ship despawns. The new system, the one that's going to have damage and decay and fire and all those happy, painful things. Hold on, I'm lost at where I'm on my station. The new system that's going to have all the damage, the decay, and all that is going to have a maintenance requirement that it currently looks like every week. Old systems will fall out of orbit. That's based off of information that has been read from releases from releases of zero gravity. And I'm a little confused at what I'm looking at right now. Oh, that's because it's upside. It's I'm looking at the bottom of it. So I want to this is not going to work out the way I wanted to at all. So that's the outpost. That's power. That's another outpost there. That's the main one. And the outpost does not, from this angle, does not look like it's going to be able to attach to the CM where I want it to. All right, well, let's get the ship in place first. Oh, and you can do any type of yaw or rotation while matched to a station. Acceleration in any direction, motion in any direction other than yaw and rotation will pull you out of match velocity. So this is one of the things I like messing around with because you're going to get the ability to use both rotation lock, and I hit the station. You get both rotation lock and speed lock from your ship. Where am I hitting? I must be hitting there. Okay, that's the cargo bay. Okay, that's what I'm looking for. So if you watch above where it says docking engaged, behind it, you see kind of a part of a square. So it says matched. So if you watch here, it's still kind of matched, but it's covered over. So I'm going to make a movement. The square goes away, but if I hit M again, the square comes back. Move away. You've got velocity, M, and it matches and it locks you in place. This is kind of a tricky way in the current system to help you lock your orientation a little bit easier. This trick is not available on modules. It only works in ships. Ships only have the matching, speed matching ability. And I just accidentally noticed it one day. I'm pretty sure somebody else has seen it. I don't know if it's supposed to work this way, but I'm going to use it. But it follows the same rules. Got to be within 165 meters and under 2 meters per second. And I'm being very deliberate in splitting my axes to where they make sense in my movement. Like, I'm making it to where when I want to go up, I'm lined up and it's going to go up in a motion that makes sense to me. It's not this weird angle that I'll transverse at some odd angle, but I'll do it with motions that make sense to me instead of saying, like, if I wanted to go right off at this angle, I won't rotate the whole module and go right at that angle. What I'll do, well, not that. What I'll do is I'll make sure the module's lined up the way I want it to be, and then apply the proper amount of up and the proper amount of left to get my vertical movement. In this case, I need to be going right, and I'm pretty close to where I want to be vertically. But because I've got a motion down, I'm going to keep going up. Because I've got a long way up that I've got to go to get the faces aligned right. So maybe here might be a good spot. So I'll stop and I'll go ahead and bring the mouse down. Stabilize it for a second because it gets squirrely. I don't know why the input does that. It might be my mouse. It might be who knows what. But yeah, that's not enough, so I'll still go up a little bit more. And that looks like a good distance. I'll test it. And that's a lot closer, so I'll go in now. And while I'm going in, I'll also go up a little bit. And that looks good. I'll match speed again, pull it back down. Get the left-right alignment back in place because it got off. Go back up because it's still not high enough and go in a little bit. And it's just, going in, making the variables all the same. No, it's not Worlds Adrift perky. You know why I'm not playing it. The same reason you aren't playing it. Did I just hit something? It shouldn't say the stream is World of Drifts. It should tell you it's Hellion. I've gotten to the point where I've got a lot of the equipment to play PvP wise. Oh, you're playing. You're playing it. Well, I'm glad you are. I'm glad some people still are. But what I want to be doing, unfortunately, there isn't the population there to do combat, and I don't feel like going and doing seal clubbing because that's not PvP. And I literally, if I wanted to, I could go in and use my half decent tier 3 cannons and overpowered tier 4 engines and wings and just go seal clubbing all day long. But it's not going to do me any good. I'm not going to learn anything from that. I'm not going to learn how to PvP against people in the higher classes like Chile and Vexus and Ceramore. I'm not going to get that by going hitting guys that just picked up the game maybe a month ago and sinking their ships. And yeah, I'll learn some things. I'll learn the arcs of my cannons. I'll learn the arcs, some other things about the design. But what I want is experience with on how to do PvP, how to do group PvP, communication, that type of stuff. And at this point right now, since everybody's waiting for the wipe, or the majority of the targets are waiting for the wipe, I'm just gonna do some other things that are entertaining to me. And as soon as there's a wipe, I'll go back in. I'll test different things, see if I can get some of the crazy ways into tier 4 that I know of, and be back in. And if I have to go the solo route and get in the hard way, like I did before, where it took me like 4 days to get into tier 4, Chile came back like, I want to say 2 or 3 days after I stopped streaming. I stopped streaming because I was sick, and I'm kind of over it now. Not completely. I still have a little bit of a cough, but I am going to continue. Did that not have any oxygen? No, it had oxygen. Okay, I'm just gonna have to go inside then. And you can kind of say, Christoph, that this is a different version of Worlds Adrift because it is written on the Unity engine. Yeah, I believe it was your post. I don't know if it was yours or somebody else's on the Vexus's Discord about the clip of him doing it. I wasn't quite sure how they did it because there wasn't a real "this is how it was done" type explanation, but I was gonna hope I could find a tier 1 lifter, what's it called? Not lifter, Atlas lifter, or a what was the other thing that we did? Or try the pulling method that Wevet was doing. I did a different version of it, and it didn't work, but the way he did his, he was doing the mechanics a little bit different than the way I was doing it. Oh. I wonder if they're going to fix G-Spam then. See, that's what I would do. as I would fix G-spam instead of going the route they did when they fixed, however they fixed the gray screen duplication bug. I'm still trying to figure out how they did that without fixing gray screens. Because to me, without fixing the gray screen, you're just making some weird check somewhere that isn't properly being done. Where's my stuff? Oh, it would help if I clicked on the right part. Cargo bay, there they are. And Christoph, I also wanted to play this game and stream it because it's another type of game that I enjoy. I do like a lot of space simulators. If it's what I think is causing it, again, this is complete speculation, probably wrong. But if they had a forced cooldown on not a forced cooldown, a forced lock of your character on spawn, like it requires a arbitrary number, I'm going to say 10 seconds before it allows your character to be moved off of the spawn location, I would think that would relieve the gray screen issue for all but the slowest machines. I could be completely wrong. Might be something more complex than that, but to me, that's what it seems like. It seems like it's a loading issue with people in general, with not necessarily bad computers, but with computers that cannot load the data quick enough. The only time that I have ever gotten a gray screen on my PC was during the Battleship event that we did with Vexus. I had, to this date, the only gray screen I've ever gotten was on that battleship. I spent the better part of a day trying different things to see if I could duplicate the glitch to make gray screen resources. I didn't want to duplicate. I just wanted to see if I could get the glitch to work. I never could. I have no desire to use an exploit to get my materials for my ships. I'd rather go mine for it. I'll be a sneaky bastard and hide in tier 4 and have people, hunting for me, giving off false positives. Yeah. I think that one's also a thing. But I'll sit there and I'll sit and spend time hiding, logging in, logging off, just really being a sneaky little bastard, to make it hard for someone else to find me and do harm to my ships. Am I going to be perfect at it? Hell no. I will lose a ship eventually. But I'm going to do my damnedest to make it hard on them. But, you know, if I run across an exploit, I don't know if I'd go as far as Vexus and make a video on how to do it so that it forces, ooh, a gun, forces the dev's hands. But I will make videos and say, hey, this is how I can reproduce this bug. The way he did it, the way Vexus did it, to me, seems a bit excessive, but in all reality, that's what needed to be done. Because we really needed to force their hand. Because they were, I don't know what they were doing. I don't know what thought process or roadmap or whatever you want to call it that they have in their development cycle. It clearly was not moving forward quickly. It still seems to be rather slow. I really like the game. That's why I want to see it hurry up and get patched so that I can get back in it. But right now, the number of players is just way too low for me to want to play. And I'm probably going to get to that same way here in the next few weeks with Hellion. But I will have 2 games that I'll be playing with. I'll get Destiny the 27th. And I have Star Citizen that I'm going to start loading back up starting today. I don't know when exactly I'm going to get to it. But I'll be putting Star Citizen back on. I got to figure out... May have to pick up another ship for Star Citizen. I don't think I have any of the current meta ships. But I have to find out what they changed in 3.0 or what's being changed in 3.0. See, I don't see the rope glitch as being a problem the player needs to correct, like you do. I understand why that's not an issue. What I see a problem with the rope glitch is if they want people to stay out of T4 until they have a certain level of technology. I don't know the best term for it. In accordance with Worlds Adrift, but they should make the map where you have to go through T3 to get to T4. Force the player to get through one wall to get to another, not allow them to circumvent a wall and just go out and bypass a whole zone. There's certain zones in Worlds Adrift people just weren't in, and if you knew how to get in there, which is one of the reasons I wrote the solo walling guide, was because people were saying T3 walls were the hardest ones to get through. Technically, they're the most dangerous ones because of the RNG nature of them. But if you understand the way the game works, you can get through them with very little damage, and people I'm not saying every PvPer, but people that PvP usually won't follow you in. Because they don't have the experience of going through the wall as much as somebody like me, or maybe even you, Christoph, because solo players have to go through these walls to get to the content. They can't do the circumvention because they have to be self-sufficient. Okay, I've got... yeah. So, it's a kind of a way that it's a failure in the way they designed the map that is allowing people to jump tech levels faster than what I believe they want. And I say believe because it's my opinion. Could be wrong. Maybe they don't care. Maybe they intentionally designed it so you could go that way. I don't know. My belief is they did it wrong. And the way that they're not fixing some of the other glitches that allow you in, like the fact that a log can go through a T3 or T4 storm wall without any damage. The fact that they have not made storm and sand walls not push you to the lower tiers, push you out to the lower tier side unless you have enough engine power to get through them, is another one that I say they don't really care enough to force people to have the right tech level. They did a rebalance on the walls. If they were easier than they currently are, they must have been a joke at the very beginning. I really cannot see how at the beginning of the game they were even a problem for people. Because I've gone through sand walls and storm walls with very crappy equipment, and I hear people that are in groups complaining about how hard it is for them to get to those areas, and I just look at them and going, are you not reading stuff that people are posting on the forums on how to do this? But I digress. That's a whole nother game. And I decided to stream this because James was having some problems with docking and wanted to see how somebody else did it. And I'm hoping that this is really being educational for him. Yeah, I see, Christoph, I have enough knowledge from my crossings to have 3 or 4 different ways that I can do that type of crossing without the extensive testing that y'all are doing. My thing is, I really hope when the servers are wiped, they do a map wipe so that we don't know for several days where T4 is even at, where T3 is even at. Because if they reuse the map we have currently, there are groups like Vexus's groups, Chili's group, Saramore. If the duper groups come back and they want to play legitimately, maybe they find another duping exploit. I don't know. But if they come back, groups, I can almost guarantee a group, if they have the original map, will be in T4 by the end of the day that they're wiped. Yeah, I probably need to get in and see and figure out how that works. Is it sand walls that do it only, or is it all walls? Because if it's all walls, well, now see, the thing with that one is you've got to have a glider. You can be in the tier 4 zone, but we know they're not going to have respawners. Without respawners, when you're ejected from your cable, you're shot out at a high speed, which is great. It's uncontrollable. So you could end up anywhere in that zone. You might actually think you're going to be able to hit this, island that's relatively near the wall and end up being thrown all the way to the other side of the wall or to the other side of the zone and have no way of getting to an island, which means you have to kind of be dependent on gliders, which after a wipe you won't have. But if it's all walls, well, yeah, that's because you know the map on both sides. There was a couple posts that I saw from the developers that currently the wall thickness in a unit is 1. Meaning that is doesn't mean it's the smallest, but it is the normal thinnest size that will see a wall. They said that walls in the final map will not be straight. Excuse me, they will not all be straight. So they're curvable. We also know that they're of different thicknesses. So if we get a new map, one, we don't know A, if they're going to be the same thickness, or B, if they're going to be straight until we get into it. And placement may or may not work. Right, okay, so here's more information. Currently hold on one second. Okay, sorry, I had to put my dog to bed. So currently, the ceiling from the underworld to max height is 1,800 kilometers, based off of the altimeter. There's a little bit actual lower that you can go, and there's a little higher that you can go, but neither of those are really great consequence. In alpha, there were 4,000 kilometers in elevation. There were a few islands in this current closed beta that were stacked, where you had an island above and an island below. In alpha, there were as many as 3 islands occupying the same vertical space. If we get a new map, we have no clue how big, or if they will not extend the height of the walls so that we can't see over them. In alpha, it was not a thing. You could not see over the walls. No, if you look at the altimeter, it starts at 1,000. So, okay, the lowest I've gone and recovered a ship was 9,903 kilometers, based off of the altimeter. That was the lowest I've gotten. The highest that I have seen was 2,812 kilometers. Now, the one thing that I'm not entirely sure, and what you might think I am saying incorrectly, is there's a space between the first 1 and the 3 following digits, which it could mean that it's 1.9 kilometers, or it is... Why did that not open? The hell? Yeah, there could be a discrepancy in what I'm believing the game is telling me. I will not disagree on that. But the way the altimeter... You could be right. I have no clue. But how are they going to test the new islands that they just released the patch for? What the hell? Why is this not releasing? You know, all the islands that are supposed to have the puzzle stuff. If they don't give us a new map, how are those going to be tested? That's why I'm thinking we're going to have a map wipe. A literal, you know, we're not going to have the same island chains anymore. Yay, welcome back, James. I could be completely wrong, Christoph. You may be completely right. And it's just way too much for them to get ready in their time. They may be such a small studio that they can't get all the stuff fixed, but with the amount of money that has been invested in their company, I would be very surprised if a large portion of that money did not go into getting new personnel in their office. I know they had some very early memes made about the fact that some of the developers were sitting in like really old chairs and stuff like that, and they were showing in the beta later or early in the closed beta that they'd get an X, Y, and Z a new chair. But they're single player games, and they're perfect dates something game that should not be pulling that many developers off of the plate for Worlds Adrift. If it is, Worlds Adrift is probably not going to go anywhere with any great speed. I don't know. I've never built a game. I've done a ton of beta testing. I think the first beta test I ever did was for Star Wars Galaxies. And that's a super old game. And I've been doing beta, both NDA and non-NDA versions of beta testing in the past. Some of it I can't even talk about currently, just because of the way the NDAs were written. So I hope that Bossa is the type of studio that is going to take Worlds Adrift right. This is probably Worlds Adrift is probably on the caliber in changing games as the way WoW changed gaming for Doom and Wolfenstein 3D. Up until WoW, and I really hate to say this because I really don't like WoW. I prefer Star Wars Galaxies. Star Wars Galaxies came out more or less the exact same time, but WoW was the one that survived. Galaxies, it had its own problems in its interface, and I probably could say 90% of all MMOs use the WoW style interface. But WoW was the first graphical mud ever. I mean, you don't know what a mud is. Imagine using Discord to talk to a server to figure out what's in a room to do a massively multiplayer game, instead of having actual graphics. Because that was what multiplayer games in the mid to early 90s were. They were chat rooms, servers, and the internet, regardless what Al Gore says, was not made by him and made by DARPA in, I want to say, early 50s. I could be wrong. It might have been 60s. I don't remember. But I digress. The whole thing is, during the 90s, multiplayer games were no more than, 10, 12 people playing Counter-Strike or Quake or some derivative of that. That was a big map. 12 people was huge. If you wanted more than that, you needed to do a LAN. And those were very common in that age. Now, 12 is considered small. It's considered you're not doing something right. But, like you said, Christoph, the cat dating game does deserve more work than the most ambitious MMO I have seen to date. The spatial IO with Worlds Adrift, and the fact that even though it loads abhorrently for its current generation, the glitches, the lag, the stuff that it's going through at this early in its life cycle, for someone like me that has seen what it was at the very beginning, it runs so good. I mean, it is just, it's downright astounding what in I would say in 20 years, gaming has changed so dramatically that what I played with, some of the first computers I played with are slower than calculators that you can buy to do math problems in high school. There's so much advancement in computers at this current time that the TI, what is it, 83, I think is what the bottom graphing calculator is from Texas Instrument, is at least as strong as the IBM PC Junior that I had. Oh, it's an 84. Okay. Yeah, it's been forever and a day. I have somewhere around here, I have my HP calculator that I use. And it is just, it just blows me away to think that a little less than 20 years ago, I was using a computer that the timer in my current one is faster than. My clock cycles, just the circuit that runs the clock cycles for my computer is faster than the computer that I had 20 years ago. My video cards, my worst video card that I have sitting on a shelf behind me in the room, that it has 2 gig of DDR5 RAM. It has 12 cores, and I don't remember what the gigahertz on the processor is anymore. I haven't looked at it in so long. My second computer that I own, which was a 486, is 10 to 12 times as strong as the 486 was. And that's separated by about 15 years. No. It was less than that. It's 10, because when that card came out, it was only, my 486 at that point was only about 10 years old. And that card is 7 or 8 years old now. And boys and girls, we are... Oh, I closed that wrong. Wait, which way am I trying to go? We are just at the beginning of computer evolution. We've got people that are building computers that are about to get to the molecular level. Meaning we've got computers that are literally going to move the polarity of an atom to positive or negative for its 1 and 0. So we're talking about energy conservation. Granted, these are nowhere near like anywhere accessible to us. But we're talking about a computer that it has the ability to do everything at least my computer can do in the size of the head of a pin. And I mean, that's... What is that? Maybe 2 millimeters, 3 millimeters at most. And granted, these are massive research computers that are, like MIT, Caltech, Boston. Who else would have it? Yeah, I mean, we're not even talking about the crazy stuff that, like, the AI stuff is going on. I'm just talking about, like, raw computing power. And AI, what was it? When I was married, that was a while ago, my wife worked she was enlisted in the Navy where I was enlisted in the Marines. But she was in intelligence, and she did translation. And they were having her field test a translation device. And her opinion of this translation device was it was about 50% there. At that point, that translation device was running with a combined power of 6 gigahertz across its processors. So if it's running at 50% the power it needs, that means, in her opinion, being a linguist, that particular system needed to have 12 gig of power to properly work for the Navy for her language that she was skilled at. I'm not going to say that because that's part of the classification that she had clearance for. But anyway, the important thing was they were only available at that time in 2008. They were only able to package a 6 gigahertz computer into a small enough area, about the size of a very thick iPad tablet. That was about the smallest they could package a 6 gig system to get 50% accuracy for a foreign language. Fast forward to now, almost 10 years later, pretty sure they got more than 12 gigs available. I'm just waiting for, maybe another 5 or 6 years, and we're all gonna have, yeah, exactly. We're all gonna be using the, shoot, I forget the name of the company. There's the company that did SpaceX, the rockets. I forget the owner's name, but I want to say it was like 3 or 4 months ago. He decided to open another area in his company up, not get rid of SpaceX, but open another area in his company up to work on making interaction between computers faster than it's currently. So right now, on average, they calculated we can input to a computer either through a keyboard or through implants for disabled people of about 8 bits. I believe it was 8 bits per second. One of his plans, which was the most ambitious of the plans, was to get nanomachines to spider through your brain to wirelessly connect to a computer to give as much as 100 megabits throughput. Because an AI has the ability to learn at, I want to say, the basic AI that we have. And this is, I could be completely wrong, because some of these numbers I'm just pulling out of my ass because I don't remember, but I know this is about the right ratio. Was an AI can learn on average about 1,000 times faster than a human, but it's an exponential curve. After a short period of time, that speed doubles, then triples, and so on and so forth. Yeah, essentially. Well, what the SpaceX group really was trying to do with the AI system is, or not the AI system, with the wireless system, is to set it up for cybernetic prosthetics for people that need to have limbs or multiple limbs that are cybernetic or of a need. Why the hell? Yeah, exactly. The more the AI knows, the faster it learns. But the whole thing with the wireless system is they're trying to set up a system so that they can take the normal hand movements that someone would need to control a detached limb or whatever it may be that you're trying to re-give someone the ability to control. They would be able to use this wireless nanite system to control a high tech level prosthesis. We've got the prosthesis. We've got robots that have 6, 10, 12 ranges of motion. that are available. Right now, they're rather big and clunky because they're really more used for industrial applications than anything else. But the whole thing is, there isn't a real good way for a human to control these with muscle movements, with residual muscle movements, which is kind of the current technology, as I understand it, that is used. They have to put sensors over kind of about a 1 centimeter square area to then control a certain type of motion of that particular limb. With this network of nanites that are wirelessly transmitting your thoughts, now you can think about moving your arm the way that you would normally, and the nanites would relay it to the processors inside the arm, and that would translate into the motion that you expect it to do. So we're looking at Ghost in the Shell within, probably within 100 years. Probably less than that, but I don't want to be overly optimistic and say, 10, 15 years. But I wouldn't be surprised if something like that was not available that quickly. Because once the first couple versions of the nanites are out and actually put into medical use, if they only do it on veterans that come back from wars that are injured within a few years of those trials, and I'm talking maybe 10, they should be at generations that will be fast enough to do full body cybernetics. And then at that point, we have to start asking ourselves, what does it mean to be alive? I forget the Arthur C. Clarke book. I believe it's called Do Robots Dream of Cybernetic Sheep? I think is what it's called. Could be wrong on that. That explores that same question. And that was written, I want to say that was written in the 60s or 70s. I don't remember. It's been a long time since I've looked at that. I actually didn't finish it the last time I picked it up. So I haven't read the whole thing yet. But it is a really cool idea. And hence one of the reasons I want to stay in the networking community. You're always going to need a local person to fix network issues. You're not always going to need a local person to fix software issues. You can outsource that. That could be some guy in India, which a lot of times it is, which is not a bad thing. It's just sometimes people have a hard time dealing with foreign accents. But my earlier topic about translation, it might become a moot point. All right, James. I think, at least for this point. Well, when you get to people, when you get people that are doing streaming and that are very big into tech, they may have differing opinions about progression, which way it should go, or what way they think it's going to go, or what parts of it drive them more than others. But in all reality, we're a bunch of geeks or nerds or whatever you want to call us that are in love with technology and the possibilities it can do for us. One of my other favorite technologies, which is completely impractical from the military standpoint, is mechs. I love the idea that one person can be a tank battalion. But from a military standpoint, from being in the Marines and learning all the things I did, it's highly impractical because you've now put a very powerful piece of machinery in a very vulnerable position where if it gets taken out, you lose this type of battlefield presence. Whereas if you were able to field a battalion of tanks, which last I checked, it was right around 62. You take one or two out of a tank battalion and you still have a big group of tanks. Whereas if a mech is on the battlefield and it is removed from play and it has the equivalent firepower of a tank battalion, that's a huge loss in military asset. As much as I'd like that technology to go forward, as a retired military person, I understand that it will never, in this level of warfare, it will never go through. And I say this level of warfare because what if tomorrow ET decided to come down and smack our heads around? Well, if we had small tanks that were more or less the size of a mech, or small mechs that were more or less the essentially one tank, you run into a thing called power problems. We still have a power problem with the larger versions of mechs. There's nothing that we have on this Earth currently that can power them. We've got all the technology needed to make them work. We've got monomer bundles, we've got magnetic bearings, we've got rail guns. Granted, they're a little bit too big, but we do have rail guns. Lasers are a thing, but they're not powerful enough to really do the intended amount of damage. We've got missile systems that would work. We've got all the things that we need except for the most critical, which is a power source. And miniaturizing a mech from a 20 to 50 meter, 20 or 50 foot tall walking base to maybe a 10 to 12 foot infantry unit creates even more power problems. I would say what we would have before. We would have small mech style tanks would be in that same universe what are called, whoops, went the wrong way, are called elementals. And an elemental is a exosuit that you wear. Wow, that's weird. That you I could. I'm actually loading. Well, not at this moment, but I'm loading Star Citizen in the next day or two because of this game and the fact that I have a feeling that Worlds Adrift is gonna take a moment to really mature. Isn't 3.0 very soon though? I mean, soon as in like within a month, I thought. I don't know. I have not looked into the current cycle of patches. But when I was looking at it through some broadcasts, I didn't even think. No, I didn't think 3 was least. Because last November was. They were releasing. What was the dang thing that that cycle thing that they the hover cycle thing. That was what was last November, and that's already in game. The AI patch was. Uh-oh, where did that go? I'm gonna say 3.0. I honestly believe 3.0 will be before we get a wipe from Worlds Adrift. Only because I think the developers want to have a larger number of bugs fixed before they wipe. My opinion on their wipe schedule is it is way too low. They need to have, in my opinion, wiped at least twice by now. See, the reason I don't think we're going to wipe anywhere near that soon, Christoph, is one, they never wiped for the changes to the blueprints. They never wiped to the rebalancing of the engines. They never wiped for, well, this is the same thing as the blueprints, but they never wiped for getting rid of the legacy blueprints. When they should have. They never wiped after the first patch of duplication. If I was lead for a game, I almost would have a wipe schedule like Rust, where literally so we're at version 2.4 or whatever, it's 2.5. I don't know what it is on Worlds Adrift right now. Oh, it's like 13 or something. So the minor version of 0.4.13 would not trigger a wipe. But at 0.2.4, going from 3 to 4 would trigger a wipe. Any subversion of 4, like version 1, it'd be 4.1, 4.2, 4.3, those wouldn't trigger wipes. But anything that was like a 2.4 to going to 2.5, that would trigger a wipe. And I would also probably have a given wipe schedule, like maybe it's not monthly, maybe it's every other month, but there would be a known wipe schedule that if there was something that got out of control, like perfect instance was a week or so ago, Vexus was playing around with panels littering an island. Just having a known wipe schedule would be able to allow someone like Vexus to go, okay, we're coming up to a wipe. Let me test if this breaks a server. And he could video it. And if the server broke, he could say, hey, look, you're about to wipe. I did this. It broke the server. Here's the data I got. Maybe you can fix this in a subversion of the next one that you're about to push out. But they're not doing anything like that. And Kuhn, that is your opinion of when it should wipe. And my opinion, we're going to be different. That, if I remember right, that's the model of Rust, which, as me being a solo player playing, month might be a little brutal on somebody that's a casual player, i.e. they only get to play on the weekends, or maybe they get 4 hours a week to play. That would be very brutal on somebody that is a casual player. Whereas somebody that's a streamer or somebody that is... Okay, Christoph, have a good night. Yeah, and Kuhn, that's one of the reasons I'm not playing, because I don't want to be the only thing that would be out there for me to play with or do would be seal clubbing, and I'm not going to do it. Like I was saying earlier, yes, there'd be things I could learn about my design, or I could start thinking about how to design a ship that would be external engines only, but until they get the heat mechanic in and we have some experimentation behind the heat mechanic, doing that type of frame testing is going to be pointless, because they're from the PvP question and answer session. They said heat would transfer in such a way that you might be using a cannon that's near an engine and cause the engine or the cannon, depending on which one is running longer, overheat the other. Needless to say, I don't think any of those people have actually worked on things that get really hot in industry. Before I was a Marine, I worked on steamships that moved oil across great distances of ocean. And yeah, it was a really weird, it was like maybe 15, 20 minutes in that they were talking about the heat mechanic. But regardless, the issue was the proximity of things could overheat other things, and they were specifically they didn't say at this point, they didn't specifically say the Vexus style box ship, but it was obvious that when they're talking about the meta fast box ship that people are flying around in PvP, that they're talking about the one that a large majority of high-end PvPers are running in 2 and 3 segment ships that are these tiny little compact guys that stack everything on top of each other to get past the overheat on cannons. They're talking about that meta that they currently have in the game, and they're talking about how they're trying to change it. No problem with that. What I have a problem with is when they take a game that's based on physics and ignore normal properties of materials that are known, and then expand them improperly. A tungsten, for instance, is one of the materials that I have a really big problem with. Tungsten has a weight, if I remember correctly, a little bit lighter than steel. That is super, super, super strong, very, very durable, and it's more or less the standard weight of steel because it's called tungsten carbide steel. I think that they have tungsten as something that's a little bit too easy to get. They need to make it more rare, like aluminum. And then they can go back to the real properties of tungsten, because tungsten then would be the armor plating that you would use instead of aluminum. Because right now, the reason aluminum has been favored is because for the power to weight ratio, damage done on an aluminum panel is not that much difference than iron. If they buffed something like tungsten and made tungsten rare, like aluminum, but they buffed it so it was a little heavy but had a crap ton more durability, we would see 2 types of ships now flying around. We would find ultralights, which would be the all super lightweight material, and then you'd have medium weights, which would be guys that have everything really light, but they wanted to have the ability to take a lot more damage, and they would plate everything in tungsten. Or if it's not tungsten, maybe it's some other material that they introduce that has that type of property, allowing a slower ship to have a damage cushion against lightweight ships that are super fast, which right now there's no counter for. And right now there's no way to counteract somebody that is using an ultralight high-speed ship. So you're thinking they're going to force people into large crew battles based on the trailers for the game? I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just curious. Is that what you're trying to say? Because you could be completely right. That might be what they want for the game. Oh, I see. Okay, okay. So what you're saying is the super lightweight would be for, you know, 1, 2 crew members, and then the large battleships would be for like 4 to 7. See, boarding, in my opinion, is too strong of a mechanic. That there, even though the Atlas Pulse is there, I still think the Atlas Pulse is weak versus that boarding mechanic. There have been too many good PvPers that can stay attached during an Atlas Pulse that indicate to me that the Atlas Pulse needs to be buffed for a longer disconnect. Assuming that the intention of the Atlas Pulse is to be the first line of defense against boarding. I'm glad you like it, Kuhn. This is just I really started this because I want to say it's James. Hold on, let me find the guy's name. Where'd he go? James. James 210. Apparently, he'd seen some of my stuff for Worlds Adrift, and he'd noticed that I'd been playing Hellion, and he approached me on how to get better on docking. And the first part of what I want, really lucky coinciding, because I wanted to reorganize the way my base was. I wasn't happy with a few things, so it was very fortuitous. I was able to stream what I was doing today to give him the viewing of how I do stuff. Like, I managed to find the keylogger that I'm using in the right-hand lower to kind of show him what keys I were using to create the motions that I was doing. Allow him to see the way my feedback was and how I was doing my rotations and stuff versus whatever he's doing. He was having a hard time doing docking and things like that. Whereas I've done other things, and apparently I have a little bit easier time doing that than he has. I'm assuming it's more I've been in the game a few more days than him, or I don't get as frustrated with it as quickly as he does. I don't know what the difference is, but there's enough of a difference that the information he had been getting was not enough. So I said, I have no problem doing it. I really wish I had a way to hide my orbit for when I do the navigation, because this is 100% offline raiding time, where you really don't attack someone's base if they're online. Populations are tiny right now on Hellion, but there's enough of content for a kind of a single player version of the game to be streamed that it's interesting. And I actually have both of my Steam accounts on my station so that I can have multiple ships. If I remember correctly, this current patch, the 2.4 I don't know. I think it's the 2.4. There's an issue with airlocks on ships connecting to airlocks on other ships that makes warp travel not work. And from my understanding, that's supposed to work based off information the developers have released. Now, I've slept since the last time I looked at known bugs to remember if that's a known bug or not. But from some of the earlier stuff I had read on the forums, it is supposed to be a mechanic that they are supposed to be using, that you're supposed to be able to do either airlock to airlock or airlock to grapple. Grapple being the ship that can do the warp, to be able to get a second ship from its location to another location. The reason I believe that it's a bug more than anything is there is spawned non-player ships that are supposed to, in the near patches, supposed to have high value loot. Don't ask me what that means in their development terms, but it is supposed to have high value loot that should be pulled out of a planet's gravity well to be salvaged from. To me, that would indicate that not only should you be able to use your engines while docked with another ship, you should be able to take that ship to a safer location to continue pillaging it. Because those loot ships, for lack of a better term, are announced server-wide. And essentially what happens is you will get an announcement like somebody's writing text in the game, and it'll tell you where said ship or base is deorbiting from. And you will have a run of players going off to save said ship from destruction. To me, my simplistic view of games, that makes it sound like you should be able to dock and take the ship away through your warp. I could be wrong. I may be misunderstanding what they're trying to say. And why are you not... Oh, that's why. Okay, this is going to be fun. And there's a huge bug right... Oh, crap. Where did you go? Aww. Oh, there's another bug. The one of the biggest bugs that I'm very disappointed in is ship airlock to station airlock only works about 10% of the time. One of the reasons I have multiple ships is I want to... The hell is that? I want to do a recording, and I'll probably stream it. Holy crap, look at all those parts. Oh, that's where all those parts went. That's hilarious. So the other day I was wondering where all the parts that were in the front of my ship were going. Specifically this one called the Minstrel. Apparently they're all outside here on this side, and they're flying around with the ship outside the ship instead of inside the cargo bay where they're supposed to be. Again, another bug. That's kind of cool. I don't want to mess with them because I don't want to... I don't really need any of those parts at the moment. That's kind of funny. Yeah, I think there's a hole. Oh, that mechanic. That mechanic that they're adding here in on the 19th is really going to bug me. Yeah, we're supposed to be getting damage here. What is it in? Let's see, today's 16th, so that's 3 days. I'm not looking forward to. Not looking forward to that. Right now, it's a little too easy to get a failed airlock latch with a ship to station, and depending on how good you're docking at, you might lose both. I mean, I don't know how strong damage is going to be in this first release, but they have said that most ships and stations at about a week interval will deorbit themselves if not maintained. Which, compared to the current system where every module, including ships docked to a station, will get a 48-hour timer additively for each module. So like the first one with a single airlock and a ship on it have about 6 days worth of offline time before it despawns. A base that's about my size, I'm pretty sure I'm close to about 2 weeks. Before it will despawn. The big problem I have is not that the repair mechanic is going in. I have a feeling that the repair mechanic is going to go in and it's going to be the wear is going to be too strong. We're going to end up with people that will just have an outpost, an airlock, and a ship. All other modules are going to stop being used. That is my fear. Because currently the parts decay is very low. Travel time is a lot further, or excuse me, travel time is a lot longer than what I would expect. I've gotten travel time down due to what I'm about to show you, but the way the game is set up currently, the speeds for getting through systems don't seem fast enough for me. The way I do it, it seems to be okay. Let me make sure I'm going to the place I want to go to. Yeah, that. No, I'm going to go. Oh. I'm going to go check Enigma. That's where I probably should go. I'm looking for another. I need another 2 airlocks, I believe. So current way I like getting around, just to get into an orbit to do a scan, you're going to want to make yourself a new orbit. You're going to want to warp to it like anything else. Make sure that there's nothing in the way, which is relatively easy. But if you follow the way the game developers want you to make this jump, they want you to use warp 1. I use warp 3. It's really cheaty. I'll tell you why. 1, the way this game uses fuel is based on how long you are in warp. So, for a long jump on a warp 1 speed, you need more fuel than you need for when you do a warp 3 jump that's 3 times shorter. I'm going to miss this warp. Oh, I was talking too much. But the whole thing is the way that they've set up the math for warping. 1 is that it's too slow. My opinion, a warp between where I am and where I want to go shouldn't be a 4 to 5 minute warp. It should be a minute and a half warp. Should not be too long. A jump between the center core and the far planet, the farthest planet in this system, should not have a orbit that you have to go to in the middle of it to then jump out again. You should be able to do it on one jump. Now, maybe you'll be out of fuel at the end of the jump, but it should not require 2 jumps to get to that distance. So this jump, if you use warp 1, is about 4 minutes long. But because I'm using 3, it does it in, like a minute and 6 seconds. And I don't have the exact math because I didn't do a whole bunch of math before I figured this out. And I haven't done any math since I figured this out. But it looks like it's using 1/3 the amount of fuel. Can you say broken? From my understanding, the initialization power between a warp 1 and a warp 3 jump, granted, hits your capacitor really hard, but the deuterium generator is a very strong generator, and it does not use a lot of fuel, so it's negligible. So the only thing that is keeping you from doing a ton of movement in the game is the speeds that the developers are letting you move through the system and the number of warp cores that you can keep on your ship at any given time. Timing to get from location to location is all based on how fast you can get from point A to B. Wow, there is nothing here today. Bunch of... Wait, what is that? Oh, I don't want to CQ him. Come on. Ooh, CT. And an airlock. Nice. All right, I'll go to the CT, get the cannon, and then grab the airlock. Okay, guys. Where the hell is the jump point? I love this. It jumps back and forth. Might even find it before. There it goes. Wow. Love that point. Let's reinitialize. Oh, shit. Go back to game. Wow, I'm not paying attention at all today. Not paying attention at all. Come on. Just wait for it to count down and jump off. Gotta love it when you hit it. Sorry, kind of concentrating the moment. I know it's not very interesting, but yeah, it does take a moment to get these things. And it's not that I want the T section, it's what I potentially want that's inside of it, which is the cannon. Oh, something doesn't look right. I'm not sure. I must be at that. Go. Ooh, wow. I gotta go way over. Okay, I gotta slow down because I'm not getting over far enough. There we go. That looks about right. And we're getting really close. Hopefully there's a cannon in there. Maybe we'll see when we get closer in on the window. If this is even wasted. If we've been wasting our time or if it's actually been worth it. Hopefully. Hopefully it's worth it. I already lost one cannon today. It would be a shame to do this and not find one. Considering I need 4 cannons? I think 4 cannons, yeah. Well, dang it. I'm going to go ahead and restart real quick. Just because. Come on, servers. Load up. All right. Now let's see if that adjusted what's inside of it. Alright, well, I'll go in there and see what's in there. This is a military zone, so we should get lucky. Maybe get some weapons. Maybe a grenade or two. And maybe that'll help me plug a big station and maybe get a turn out of that. Not a real station, but a static station. doesn't look like there's much in there. Oh, let's go ahead and grab onto something. And then open the course. Wait a sec. Am I? I'm in the civilian sector, aren't I? What the heck is this? An air processor. Okay, that's what they look like. So that means there's not a single chance of me finding a cannon in any of these, but another air processor. Alright, then I'm gonna grab the lock and get out of here, because that's... I thought I was in a different section. Well, dang it. Yeah, I thought it was in the military sector, and apparently I'm in the civilian sector, which is... That's why the CQM's there. Make sure it's separated. Yep, it did. Good. Now, where is that airlock? It should be just... Yay. There we go. Okay, I gotta go up to get out of that range of that ACM. Okay, matched it, and should be able to dock now. Hopefully. What? Oh. Yeah, that should be a decent... I hit it. Or I made something hit it, that's a problem. Oops, wrong way. Back out, back out, back out. Okay. Alright, so which side? Is that the airlock side? Oh, cool. Alright. Oh, you would stop the way I don't want you to stop, wouldn't you? That was a big overshoot. It's weird. Looks like reach out is grabbing my mouse when it's over on one side. Let me fix that. I don't know why it's doing it, but sure. There you go. I should stop doing it. That was weird. See if it'll take this really badly off angle. Go down a little bit. Yeah, that was pretty quick. Wow. Okay, so all right, I'm gonna go ahead and cut the stream here. I might do a little housekeeping before I log off, but this is gonna be the end of the Hellion stream. This is a picture of another map that is available for the community. But I want to thank y'all for watching, and y'all have a happy day gaming.